Hello everyone, here I am in another video, and today I decided to talk about something that I was talking with my sister, and I was like, why not make a video about it? Because it's pretty interesting. And because of the thing I was talking about with my sister, I think we can have um such good reflection about it, basically. So let's talk about how the lack of free time makes you spend more money and why it made so much sense in my mind. It all started because I was, um, like talking to my sister. We were chatting, and I started to talk about how the life on like a big city such as New York, London, um, let me think about Los Angeles, Seoul, Tokyo, all these big cities around the world. It makes you, the lifestyle in this city makes you work a lot and you have few free time. And because of that, you end up spending money on things because you barely have time to, like have a good time to um relax a bit. And though it was basically the kind of chat that we were having, and I think I started to think about it, how we spend so much money because sometimes we are not investing our money on things that are actually worth it, and that's why we end up buying so many things. And that's what I wanted to talk about today, because think with me, sometimes, especially in cities like I mentioned previously, you barely have time in a day because you have to go to work soon. Oh my god, I forgot to it. You have to go to work early, so you have to wake up early. You have to take the subway or the underground or the bus, whatever, and you'll be so much time on this this transport. Basically, you spend a great time going from your home to your work, and all this time you spend on the subway, on the underground, and all, you will waste coming back home as well, without mention the time you spend on your work. The time you're at work, that will be around 8 to now 9 hours a day, not to mention when you have to, like take some extra time, because you haven't finished your work. So because of that, you have to spend a bit more time on work and come out a bit later. And they have to do all the traject. Oh my gosh, I don't know if this word e- exists in English, but you have to go all the way, spend the same time to going back home. And even this part of the day that you're on the underground and all, it's usually so full of people. You barely have space to sit, and all this routine makes you even more tired, you know. And because of this lifestyle, you do not have free time, at least in the middle of the week, for you to, like go to the movies or go to the cinema or go to a park or hang out with your friends or have a date with your boyfriend. And because of that, you end up having money because you work a lot, but you cannot use this money to experiences and to make you feel like I'm working so much and make you feel like I'm not wasting my time on this work. You have to use this money to at least buying something you like or buying something you want, and that's why you end up buying so many things and end up accumulating so many things because you have to feel that your money is being useful for something but paying the bills, you know and sometimes the problem is not that you're spending so much, but what is causing you to be spending so much money. And that's what I'm trying to make you think about. Am I buying those things because I actually want it, because I actually don't have anything more to spend my money on, or because I don't have time and I have to fulfill this lack of purpose in life on buying those things? You know, an example, even though it's not such a good example, but I will talk about it. It's my mom. My mom, she worked so much. She was always like that. But when you were little, we hang out much more than we hang out today. Yeah, I hang out with my parents. I love hanging out with them, and I don't have a problem with that. But we hang out a lot together. But right now, I see that it's even less frequent, even though we have a bit more of time. But she is so tired to hang out after work that she ends up watching Netflix till late. And that is the other point I wanted to talk about. Because right now, we have much more accessible to entertainment without actually having to leave home for that. And I end up feeling it um in my daily life, especially after pandemics, because we couldn't hang out. So we have to find other ways to be at home and still have access to entertainment, you know? And I think that today, after such a tiring day where we worked so much, for us it's much more comfortable to stay at home watching something on Netflix or on Prime Video and all, then actually leaving our home to go to the cinema, for example. And cinema nowadays is actually pretty expensive. So we kind of balance what is the best choice: stay at home, don't spend money, or leaving home and spending much more money. We have to, like, come there at the right time, because if we be late, we may lost the initial part of the movie. And we consider all those things, leaving home to find entertainment. It's a bit uncomfortable, and because of that, we end up don't having this time on experiences, on moments together, because here everyone is in a different room watching something different, because we don't want to have this time watching something together, because we don't want to watch the same thing you know and because of that, it's like we're so distant of ourselves, even though being in the same place. And I started to noticing that when I was a kid, we hang out much more than we hang out today. It was because we didn't have Netflix, we didn't have all those comforts. So for us to have a good time together, we actually had to go to a mall or go to a cinema and all. And because of that, when we started to have more access to this comfort, we didn't need to leave our home anymore, you know. And I started to noticing that my mom, she started to buy so much more things as well. And even though my parents, they are not such um consumers, they don't have consumerist problems, but if we take this example and apply to a person who is not very controlled when it comes to money, this person will be spending a lot of money on unuseful things, because she she or he, they are, prioritizing uh discomfort of not having to leave home, because leave home is uncomfortable, with being home. But they have to feel like I'm gaining my money, I'm working so much, and this money is worthy. And you're always buying things, always buying different things, because you have to feel that your money is worthy of your time, a part of only paying the bills. So sometimes, for cases like this, that I think is much more common in big cities, as I mentioned before, uh, it's a good way for you. Try to, when you have a free time, try to explore a city. Allow yourself to have a bit of a comfortable time. You know, you cannot be spending your life only at home. And I'm talking about it because I'm dealing with that right now. I'm trying to overcome it as well. I'm not saying from a way that I don't pass through that as well. I also pass through that. I feel like I don't spend my money on experiences as well. And I'm trying to do. And sometimes you don't have to spend money on them. Because I'm sorry, but walk is for free. You can walk a bit on your neighborhood. You can only go out to buy a coffee and sit on the park and just waste a bit of time doing nothing. You know, Sometimes we have to accept actually our boredom. We have to accept that life can be boring sometimes. You don't have to be always consuming entertainment on short videos, on YouTube, on Netflix. Sometimes you should only be alone with your thoughts without the interruption of a content, you know, of a movie or a TV show. And that's a thing that seems to be so simple, but it can help you so much with your consumerist habits, you know? And sometimes I'm sorry to tell you that you're working too much and you have to think about, is this much of work worth it? Am my life is actually being impacted in a good way by this, like this, oh my gosh, where is the word? This, oh my god, I literally forgot. Oh my god. But this large amount of work is that's it mentally. So you have to balance. You have to try to take a look at your life and thinking, is it worth it? Am I happy with this lifestyle? you know and you can only do that if you have time with your thoughts, but you don't even think about it because you're always running away from your thoughts. You do not allow yourself to have a time with yourself and kind of have a critical thinking about your life. And I'm not telling you to leave your work, no, but sometimes you can take it easy. You don't have to be working so much. Sometimes it's a good way for you to change the company you're working for. Maybe you can think about, may I search for a new job on another company? Maybe sometimes my life here is not worth it and I should move. At least give yourself the chance to try, because our lives should not be only about working. No, you have to, you deserve to have free time. You deserve to have time with your family, with your parents, with your siblings, with your friends. You deserve it with yourself. You deserve to have time away of home, exploring your city, doing new things, meeting new people. You deserve it. But you don't have it because you're working too much. And since you never had a free time, you have to fulfill the lack of it with buying, because you this little thing of buying something you think you want makes you feel a bit alive. It gives purpose to the money that you have. But you have to think that life is not only about it. And maybe you can think, no, but I don't want to have this free time in my city. I want to travel. Instead of wasting this money that you have, this extra money after paying your bills on buying, unuseful things, useless things, you can save it to a travel. You can maybe take a extra time at work to have some days off for you to travel. is worth it as well, because at least you're giving your money actually, a purpose that is not buying things. So that's what I'm trying to do. I'm always giving you some tips of how you can avoid actually spending money on those useless things. But I think this one is the best tip I can give you right now. Sometimes what will help you is not about stop spending money and only saving it, but sometimes giving yourself other destinations to this money, and focusing this money not on buying things, but actually on allow yourself to have a good time, a quality time with yourself or with the people you love, and people you want to have by your side. Sometimes we are wasting our time on things that we will look back in the future and be like, what is actually worth it? Should I work so much? Should I give so much of myself to this company? And in the end of the day, I'm here with nothing. I have nothing, you know? I don't have memories of traveling. I don't have memories of time with my children. I don't have memories of time with my wife, with my husband, with my parents when they were alive. That's what you want to look back when you be old. Memories that you are only working, buy, work, pay the bills, buy something, work, pay the bills, buy something. I don't think that life is about it. Life, you should not be navy and live like there's no tomorrow. No, it's not about that. But you have to find a balance between working and have a quality time, you know because as I said, if you're not having a quality time, you'll be wasting this money on things, and being a consume being like this overconsumption culture, with your home full of things you don't need. You don't have any savings for your retirement, for buying a home, for buying a car. Sometimes your problem is that you're wasting our money on things you don't need, while you could be giving this money other destinations, other purposes, instead of shitty things. So that's the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you understood what I was trying to talk about, and think about what I talk about here, because I think it's really important. And as I said, I'm not here to point fingers on anybody, because I myself sometimes I do it as well. Man, I have depression. So my last 4 years were literally, like lay at the bed, wanted to die, basically. So right now I'm trying to give my life other purposes, but spending money on things and giving up on life. I want to live. I want to actually live. I want to have a life. I want to feel that I'm alive. And sometimes that's what you need as well. Sometimes that's what is lacking in your life, you know? So it's not that you don't have money, it's not that you're not working so much, but sometimes you're focusing on things that you shouldn't be focusing on. And if sometimes you only change your mindset, you can see that you have a lot to be grateful for, and you only have to change small things in your life, and you will see that your life is renewed, you know so is it. How I stop talking. Okay, so see you in the next video, and I hope you enjoyed it. So